Welcome to another edition of Fantasy News. I am your host, Daniel Greene, and today we're going to be doing the positive day. It's positive video week. There's no negative news at all. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the news. House of the Dragon has officially been greenlit and ordered at HBO. The Game of Thrones prequel everyone has been so excited for. The other Game of Thrones prequel, that's canceled. This one is for sure happening, and reportedly will have 10 episodes. No, D&D are not involved with it, but George R. Martin himself recently has made some comments and said no, he will not be involved with writing this script either until he is done writing Winds of Winter. That is his priority and where he is focused, and I'm imagining fans are very happy to hear this. But yes, House of Dragons, the prequel that will follow the Targaryens in Westeros, is coming down the road officially. I know there was a lot that was just said there to unpackage. Yes, it'll be 10 episodes reportedly for the first season. Maybe there'll be more than one season. I'm seeing conflicting things on that. No, D&D are not involved. In fact, in our next story we're going to cover here today, they're not going to be involved with much anymore, it seems. I'm looking forward to this. I'm hoping they take a look at where Game of Thrones faltered at the end, and they're able to bring a prequel that'll satisfy fans. Of course I want that. Why did I even feel the need to say that? Everyone wants a good show here. But as I mentioned, D&D have had some turbulent water recently as well. David Benioff and D.B. Weiss were going to get their own Star Wars series, but that is apparently no longer happening. What we've seen is after their recent Q&A, almost directly afterward, they seem to be separated from the Star Wars franchise. Whether or not it was a direct result of their incredibly candid and open conversation, I don't know. The only thing we are sure of is they will no longer be a part of the Star Wars universe. I think this is something most fans saw coming. I mean, D&D have such a negative reputation online right now. I don't think any franchise could really thrive with their names attached currently, and that's not meant to be a shot at them. It's just the way the internet has reacted to their complete mishandling of the end of Game of Thrones just makes them something that no franchise wants to be signed on to their name. Although it has been reported the Star Wars trilogy these two are going to work on was going to explore the origin of the Jedi. And this is something I think a lot of fans are still down for. A lot of people do want to see the origin of the Jedi explored, the Old Republic explored especially. So I think good idea from Lucasfilms, from Disney, let's go down that route, just find some different names to helm the creation. But shifting away from A Song of Ice and Fire and Star Wars news, let's briefly touch on the DC news we have coming down the road. Jeffrey Wright, known from his recent success involved with Westworld, has been cast as Commissioner Gordon in the upcoming Batman movie. This is the Batman movie coming down the road with Robert Pattinson, which will reportedly focus more on the detective aspects of Batman, which I'm excited to see. I hope that actually goes well, although I'm very confused in all the different directions DC seems to be going in, where they're having new alternate universes and not focusing on trying to recover their main one, or maybe that one's been abandoned altogether. They certainly haven't announced any new movies going into it recently at all. Speaking of those alternate universes, a Green Lantern series is reportedly coming from HBO Max and has a budget of $100 million for its first season. Not bad. And in some self-promo news, I recently released my Mistborn Magic System Explained video. Link down below if you're interested in seeing the Mistborn Magic System Explained. We also had a review from the Avengers game that is coming down the road, and I can say I'm really not impressed, and I wish I was. Marvel has struggled with video games before, having some great success with their recent Spider-Man game and complete and utter flops. I bet there's some people who are surprised to hear there have been Iron Man games since the movies have come out. Yeah, they weren't great. And this one here is certainly not impressing me. The graphics look extremely outdated already, and the gameplay footage is underwhelming. Although if you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments down below. Do you have faith in this upcoming Avengers game? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story or any of the others I have in the comments down below. And of course, links to everything I'm talking about in the description. If you'd leave a like on the video, I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out here tremendously. And I'm actually excited for this one news. A Dantes Inferno reimagining drama series is reportedly in the works over at Freeform. I really like the Dantes Inferno story. I played the game, read the book, that story has been a part of my growing education in fantasy, Christian fantasy, things like that stories, and this one is interesting itself, and I've been waiting for a new adaptation of this material. It's so iconic, I knew it was going to happen eventually, and apparently it's happening now. I know nothing about this series so far, except for that it's out freeform and what's in the article I'll link below, so not too much. But if any story could have a neat spin on it taken that has had so much influence and a lot of people are aware of, and it would be a safe bet to put some great minds behind and have a wonderful outcome, Dantes Inferno is up there for me. I'm excited for this one. I want to see it. Let's go. And then the last bit of DC news we're going to cover here today. DC is launching a new fantasy epic series in their comic lines. The series, titled The Last God, is looking to dip into fantasy horror. Interesting. DC has had a lot of success in its comics recently, and this is a neat direction to go in. I expected to see comic book companies lean into the fantasy route a bit more with all the success the genre's been having recently, but I didn't expect it to come from the bigger names like Dark Horse, DC, or Marvel yet, but apparently it's happening. Cool. And while we're speaking of HBO briefly, there is an entire list of everything coming to HBO Max on release day linked down below if you'd like to check that out. And it also has been confirmed that HBO Max will be available for $14.99 a month. They seem to be going the Apple route in terms of pricing. Premium cost for premium shows? Let's hope that that's the case, with HBO's current lineup still being rather impressive. Barry and Chernobyl being two of the best shows I've seen in a long time. And jumping into some recent Dune headlines, it has been reported that Dune will have stronger female characters than the source material originally provides. And of course, this headline set off the internet in all of its rage. And what I can tell you is, from my history of looking at these kind of headlines, usually they don't mean much. I'm sure the female characters will be updated a bit. I'm also sure it won't be super updated and completely changing the source material. A lot of the times, these headlines come about because of leading questions from reporters, where basically the person answering the question has to answer in the affirmative, and then once they do that, that person has their clickbaity headline. I'm not saying that's 100% the case here, but it was absolutely the case, for example, with the recent Lando controversy, where apparently he came out as pan, even though there was nothing about that in the movie. And if you look into it, it's because there was a leading question asked to someone involved with the movie where they basically had to answer, yeah, without looking bigoted. So all I'm saying is, don't really take much from this headline. It just seems like something that's going to be pasted out there to try and get clicks, because that's the kind of news culture we live in. Oh, Daniel's saying it'd be a bad thing. No, I'm not. I'm saying that this article is misleading and I have no opinions on what they're trying to do, because I think it's a BS article to begin with. And in streaming services making big moves news, Raised by Wolves, the upcoming sci-fi series from Ridley Scott, is reportedly moving from TNT to HBO Max. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of this happening in the near future. Streaming services have a lot of cash on hand. That's one of the advantages they have in the industry. And what they're going to do with that is to snipe quality content they suspect coming down the road, just to inflate and make their own streaming services have the best content, because the whole philosophy of content being king is amplified tenfold when it comes to streaming services. They absolutely have to have hit shows constantly to be able to continually grow their subscriber base. I just got done recording and uploading my trailer reaction to The Witcher because it dropped right when I was editing this fantasy news, and I wanted to get a full reaction out before this fantasy news. So that's already up. But there was also an article where the showrunner talked about the themes of the show, what they're focusing on, how they're adapting it. That was really interesting. That I'm going to link down below. So if you'd like to see my trailer reaction, that's linked down there. If you'd like to see this article where the showrunner talks pretty in depth, he's a knowledgeable guy about the series, which has been nice to see. That'll be linked as well, because we knew Henry Cavill knew a lot about the show, but now we also know the showrunner gives a damn and can speak on the source material with confidence, and that's pretty great. I'm excited for that. Let me know in the comments if you like the Witcher trailer, and I guess that's all I have to say about that. I just like seeing showrunners who clearly know what they're talking about. Shout out to Rafe Judkins for setting the bar so high. And in the last bit of fantasy news we're going to cover here today, Capcom has confirmed that a live-action Mega Man is still in the works. I am confused by this, but okay. I never really had much to do with Mega Man growing up. It wasn't my franchise. So for those of you that did, let me know down below. Do you really care about this? Are you aching for a live-action Mega Man adaptation, or is this going to be like the Sonic one where the entire internet's essentially going to go, who asked for this? This is weird. Anyway, guys, this has been your latest fantasy news. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. And have a good one, y'all. Peace. And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my latest high-tier Patreon, who shares a name with a show I just mentioned in love, Barry. Thank you so much, Barry.